Hello, everyone. I am here with Amy, who went from being a health coach to helping other health coaches get more clients. And she has so much valuable wisdom to share with us about how to use talks to her audience and to actually get clients from. And I know so many of us do speaking and um, use that to try to gain clients in our business. So I am really looking forward to hearing Amy's insight on how to structure a talk to gain those clients. Take it away.
Oh, thank you, Carolyn. I'm so happy to be here, and was so thrilled when you suggested that we focus on this topic today because giving talks is probably the best way for coaches to get clients. Coaches and consultants and those types of people to get clients. And but it's also a strategy that you can spend a lot of time and energy on without getting clients. And so, what I want to say, kind of before we dive in, is if you are someone who has tried giving talks, be that in person or online, and you don't feel like you've gotten the number of clients from that would make it really worthwhile for you, like you're maybe not getting a client from every talk you give, that it's not you and it's not the strategy. It's just probably the way you're going about giving the talk. And there's other pieces that we may or may not dive into today. If we want to look at diagnosing some of the reasons why that could be, it could be your talk topic. It could be, where are you giving the talk? Who are you giving it to? It could be
Always
your
comes back to
offer.
that ideal client. Are you speaking to the right
Yes.
people?
Yes, right. So there's a lot of things, but more often than not, what I see is that there's something off in the structure of the talk. And as coaches, we usually got into this work because we are passionate about our subject matter. And so it's really easy because people tell us, go out and give talks, that we just create a talk with tons of value and we go and we give an informational talk.
Nobody wants to
And
hear me talk about sales funnels for 45 minutes straight.
well, they do. but um but we want to design the talk to get you clients. So if we're just going out and we're giving informational talks that aren't actually designed in a way that will get you clients, then what you're going to find is that you're just really busy going out and giving talk after talk without getting the clients from them. And,
This
and
is
just
such a good topic for me today. I didn't even realize I picked it because I saw it on your blog, but now I'm thinking I'm doing a live LinkedIn presentation at the end of October. I'm going to take notes.
yay, that makes me so happy.
I
I love
definitely need this topic.
Yeah, I love it. So I like to underscore this. The reason we're giving the talks is to get clients.
It's not just
That's
to hear myself speak. All right.
that's why, right? And yes, we want to be benevolent and we want to do good and create positive change in the world. And the thing we have to remember is, your talk is going to have value. When I'm going to talk about today, you are going to be giving value. I'm not at all a proponent of the talk that's 2 minutes of fluff and 30 minutes of sales. We definitely do not want to do that. That's also not going to get you clients. It's not going to feel good to you. You're not going to be of service. So we want to give a talk where you are feeling that you're in service, and you actually are. But also we need to realize that people aren't going to really get the huge shifts that you want for them without them actually working with you in some
Mm.
capacity. Just attending a free talk, can create awareness. It can maybe give someone some tips. They're not going to be able to go the distance, though, just from a free talk. or a low cost paid talk either. So, I just like to preface that and say that you also do not have to be a great speaker in order to get clients from your talks again and again and again. And I think this is a big myth out there. We are shown a lot of examples of people who, are amazing public speakers. We don't know how they got there, right? We don't know what their path was, or, who look a certain way. And I just want to say that um, you can get clients from talks, even if you've never done it, if you have zero experience, if you're nervous about talking to groups of people. The first talk I ever gave was when I was a health coach. I had zero public speaking experience. I gave a talk to a group of 20 people in a gym. I was shaking, I was nervous. Of course, once I started getting into my content, the focus became more on that. It became more on my audience. Things started to flow. I got 2 clients from that particular talk.
2 out
So,
of 20, that's pretty good.
and I honestly I wasn't an excellent public speaker. I wasn't. I can own that, and I love sharing that because I just want everyone to know that this can work for them. Um, so, and I've what I've also experienced is working really hard to get each client because my talks weren't structured. Like, yes, that first talk, I got 2 clients and that was amazing. And I found that as I continued on and I gave talks, yes, I was getting typically at least 1 client from every talk I gave, but I felt like I was having to work really hard for each of those clients.
Yeah.
And it can be a lot easier than that. And that's what I learned was like how to shift the structure of the talk so that more people were wanting to work with me by the end of the talk. So,
I can't wait.
um, yeah. Um, so should we dive in?
Yes, please share all the juicy details.
Okay. So there's 3 components to your talks. It's the opening sequence, the main content, and the closing sequence. We'll dive into each of those. I'd like to break each of them down for you. And I think as I go through this, for the listeners, you're probably going to find this to be familiar. Carolyn, you for sure will find this familiar. You'll be like, oh, yeah, I've done that. Or, oh, yeah, I've seen that done before. Um, and so it's not a sequence I created. It's a sequence that a lot of people are using, and it's because it works really well. So the first piece, we're going to look at the opening sequence and break that down. So the first piece of the opening sequence is asking an audience engagement question. You want to get people engaged from the beginning, and so we want to ask a question that either, typically gets them saying yes or sometimes saying no, right? And so this is where you're going to connect with what your potential clients are struggling with. So if I was using the standard format and this were a talk, I might say something like, do you feel like you've gone out and you've been giving talks, but you haven't been getting clients from them, and you don't know what you're doing wrong? And you get the head nods and you get the people saying yes, right? So this question gets people engaged right away, and it also helps them to see that like they're in the right place. You get them. And we take that a step further and we literally do the you're in the right place sequence, which may be familiar to you. And this is where you're going to have, 3 to 5 statements that lets them know. So you're going to say, you're in the right place if, and then you're going to have some different statements. So again, if this were a talk, I might say you're in the right place if you are a brand new coach and you don't know how to get clients and you want an easy way to get a consistent flow of clients in. You're in the right place if you've been a coach for a while, but you're still struggling to get that consistent flow of clients in. You're in the right place if you want a low tech free way to bring clients in. You see what I'm doing there is I'm connecting with the audience with what they've experienced. And what that does is it also helps them to see that you're the right person to help them, and they're going to feel that subconsciously, but it is very powerful. After you've done that sequence, you're then going to introduce yourself and your story. So you'll notice this isn't at the very beginning, and that is purposeful, right? We don't want to start by talking about ourselves. We want to start by engaging and connecting with the audience and what they're going through. You definitely don't want to skip your story because this is where you're going to build credibility. Um, and when you're telling the story, you also want to think about your audience and connect your story with where they likely are. So often we're helping people through a process that we've already helped ourselves through, or that we've had coaches help us through. And we can, not always do our stories match our ideal clients, and that's also okay. And that's where we want to tap into what brought us to do this work, right? Why are we here and how have we helped people? So after you share your story, you are going to tell them what they're going to learn in the talk. And, that's where you're going to give your bullet points of, what they're going to discover, what they're going to learn. We want to make those things really enticing. They're likely going to be bullet points you've used to promote the talk to begin with. So you'll have those kind of ready to go, but it just sets the agenda and gets people excited. Um, when you do that, you're going to wrap that part up by letting people know that you're going to share as much as you can in the time you have. Okay. That lets them know you're going to provide a ton of value. And it's a reminder to you that you couldn't possibly teach them everything you know in the time you have. And I think that that is really helpful because I know as coaches, we want to pack it all in. We're going to talk about that later.
3 days later, they'll still be sitting there.
Yeah, right, right. Yes,
Sorry.
yes, yes, yes. Um, and so then you're going to tell them that you're going to give them some great resources, one of which is a free gift, so that it's easy for them to implement what you're teaching them. And that free gift is going to vary depending on what you're teaching, but you want it to align with the topic of your talk. And you want it to be something enticing that gets them to show up. Because it's a free gift when you do your marketing of your talk that people who show up live will get access to, whether that's online live or in person live. And so it really helps boost signups, it boosts show ups, and it gets people excited. And then you're going to let them know that there's going to be some of them who are action takers who want some extra help, and that you're going to give them a way to do that. So, what you're doing there is you are seeding your offer. You're letting people know that at the end, you're going to share how they could take things further with you. And what this does is it takes the pressure off because there won't be any surprises or discomfort when the topic of working with you comes up at the end of your talk. It also gets people excited to hear, oh, there's more. I'm excited. If they feel a connection and they resonate with you, then they're going to be eager to learn, what you have to offer. And so it's going to feel great to you, and it's going to feel great to them. Um, and it's going to feel like you're being of service, and that is the energy in which you want to approach that. Is I'm going to tell you how you can continue to get support with this. That is being of service. if we hold back, we don't make that invitation at the end, which we will talk about, then we're actually we're keeping something from the audience, right? That could help
Mhm.
them. So we don't want to do that. And it's also
Right.
not going to feel salesy to your audience, to you or your audience. You're not going to transmit that energy of salesiness because you're not going to feel salesy,
Hmm.
and they're not going to feel it either.
Yeah, sales is service. That is the right mindset to have,
That's right. That's right.
especially
Yeah,
for us heart-centered entrepreneurs.
that's right. Yeah. Um, I just thought I would pause there. So that's your opening
That's just the opening part.
sequence.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And that's your lead in. And that's really just warming people up, getting your audience engaged, setting the agenda, um, and, um, and setting yourself up for success at the end of the talk. So, do you want anything you want to say about that part, Carolyn?
That's fantastic. I can already see like 5 different things that I can update about the talk that I've been giving that will make it so much better flow and make sense to people better. So this
Oh,
is fantastic.
great. What's one example?
Um, so I'm already doing the intro to me, but I have not been doing the ask an engagement question. I kind of tell them what they're going to learn, um, and that there's resources at the end. But to say in the beginning, like, this is what to expect, this is what we're going to learn, then there's going to be this, like, set up the expectation. That's really smart.
Yeah. Oh,
You're in
great.
the right place if I haven't been doing that. So
Mhm.
a lot of good ideas there.
Love it. Okay, good. I think it's helpful. I love I asked you that question, put you on the spot a little bit, but it's
I
super
don't mind
helpful
being on the spot.
for people to hear your examples, right? Because then they can just helps them take it a little bit further.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think I tend to just jump right into the teaching because that's what I'm excited to do.
mhm.
But that can be like a water hose, like a fire hose to people if you don't set that expectation of what the structure is, what you're going to learn, what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, and it gives people a chance to show up, like to like enter the physical or virtual room as you're doing the opening sequence. There's always going to be people trickling in. And I
Mm-hmm.
think to your point, actually, that you like to jump right in. I think that's um a more normal thing that we like to do. And what this opening sequence is going to do is going to ground you as a speaker and kind of slow you down a little bit, and then that's going to in turn ground the audience. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, what's
So
next?
so next we're going to talk about the main content. This is the meat of your talk, and we kind of alluded to this earlier, but one of the biggest mistakes here is providing too much content.
Mm-hmm.
We like to pack it in. And I think this comes from our feelings of, wanting to feel worthy, wanting to feel of value. And we think that the more we pack in, the more valuable it is, and the more credible we will be to our audience. But what actually happens when we provide too much content is we actually overwhelm our audiences. This is very common. And when I want, as you're listening to this, I want you all to think, if you have ever been to a talk or read something or anything, consumed content where you were overwhelmed by what the person was teaching. And did that lead you to want to work with that person or not? Carolyn, have you ever had this experience, being overwhelmed?
I can't think of a specific example, but I can see what you're talking about. I do have a question though.
Yeah.
I do a done for you service.
Hmm.
And so sometimes it's useful to overwhelm people so that they see, like, oh, I can't possibly do this myself. I'll let you do it. But
Hmm.
not a good direction to go in a talk like this.
Yeah, no, that's a really, and that's a, somewhat of a unique, not, I mean, there's lots of people who do done for you services. I'd
Not
have
the
to think of,
coaches that we're talking to. So I
yeah,
guess
maybe not. Although,
like,
you know, we don't know what, yeah, there's probably a range of people doing a range of things. I think that what's important is we we do, and actually I offer done for you um not services but programs and products like wellness talks that are done for you and a wellness program that is done for you. And so there is an element of letting people know everything that's involved in actually doing it themselves and then
mhm,
telling them, but there is an easier path and it's this way where I do it all for you or where you get this kit where it's all already done. So I
mhm,
definitely do think that's the element. I think where you would want to be careful not to overwhelm people is in the steps to get there from A to Z. So like the whatever prep they would need to do in order for you to do the thing for them, what they would do with it after you had done it, right? Like that's where you want to make sure that they don't feel overwhelmed. But you
mhm,
know, if you're doing writing and designing and building pages and all this stuff, then you do want to let people know, like, here's the steps. It can take this amount of time, right? And there is this other option, another way to go about it. Um, so, yeah, so when we are overwhelmed by the presenter, the teacher, the coach, um, we are usually don't want to work with that person because it just feels too stressful to our systems. Um, Yet when someone can teach us a an amount of stuff that we feel like we can intake, then we feel at ease with that person. And we're like, oh, they're a good teacher. They explain things well. I get it. Um, and and then we want to work with them further. The other thing that when we overwhelm with content can happen is the person says, well, I haven't even digested everything in this free talk.
mm,
So I'm not even yet ready to work with them, right?
yeah,
So the tip here is to keep your content to 3 to 5 teaching points for your entire talk because if you do anything more than that it can really feel like too much for your audience. So when you start the main content of your talk, you want to share what you're going to cover. And then for each teaching point, you're going to have 3 to 5 of them. You want to talk about the why. You want to seed your offer with examples and client stories. Be
mhm,
those visual, any visuals you can provide in slides is always, you know, whether it's a picture of the client, it's something you created for them or that they created with your help or whatever the case may be. Um, and what that so we want to talk about the why of whatever the thing is we're teaching because we want people to understand why it is important. And then when we seed the offer you're going to make at the end of your talk with those examples or client stories, what that does is um, it makes it really practical for your audience. It also helps them see what's possible for them. And that is one of the most powerful things you can do in your talks. And when we're new coaches, it can sometimes be challenging to come up with those examples and those client stories because you just don't have a bunch of them built up over time yet. You will. And so this is where you can draw from your own personal stories and your own success, um, personally or business, depending on what area you're coaching in. And and then you can also use examples from friends, family members, whomever that you have helped for free, even if they weren't paying clients. If you've helped them, use their stories. And then another thing I always like to say is like make it a goal of yours to get 3 clients, offer 50% off your whatever your package is, get 3 clients, get great glowing testimonials and stories from them, and then you'll build that up over time. And then with each teaching point, the other piece is that you want to give a pro tip. So, it's something that is going to help them implement what you've taught in that particular teaching point, or help them avoid a common mistake that people make for that particular teaching point. So, I gave the pro tip of keeping your content to 3 to 5 teaching points, just as an example. So that's the main content of your talk. And, I would say more often than not, 3 teaching points is going to be plenty. I said 3 to 5 because sometimes teaching points are smaller, sometimes they're longer, and you can kind of, do a run through of your talk and kind of test it out on someone and see, and also feel in your system. This is something I've fine tuned over time. I'm still fine tuning, but like feel in my system what feels off, what feels like too much, um, and trying to keep that talk to an hour, including your closing sequence. And the closing sequence is where you invite people to take that next step with you. So in that closing sequence, you're going to um, remind people about the free gift. And depending on whether you're giving a talk in person or online, this is done a little bit differently. You're going to recap what you talked about on that day, and you are going to let them know if they want to take things further, that how they can do that. And it depends on what your offer is. If you want one-on-one clients, you can invite them into an initial consultation with you, whether that's free or paid. I know people do that differently in different industries within coaching, do it differently. In the health coaching industry, we typically offer that free, but we let people know the value of it because we do want people to know the value of spending one-on-one time with you. You want to give that initial consult a name that's results oriented, that relates to the main thing you help clients with, that should also relate to the title of the talk, so it's all in alignment. And you want to let people know what they're going to get out of that call with you. So really talk it up, be honest, but talk it up, make it enticing. And then if you're doing it online, give people a link to your calendar where they can sign up right then and there for that session with you. And if you're inviting people into, say, a group program or to purchase a product from you, that's where you would go through kind of several slides really talking about what they're going to get and why they want this, and all the juicy details, any bonuses, what the value is, what the investment is, if you have any time sensitive bonuses, you want to talk about those. And you of course want to give a link for people to actually purchase and sign up for that. If there's a coupon code or a special pricing, letting people know that. And then doing some Q&A at the end, where people can ask you questions about what you've invited them into, but they can also ask questions about the content of the talk. And I would say my experience is that most of my questions in Q&A are about the offer that I've just made, more so than the content of the talk, which is always great because people are asking questions. That means they're engaged. That means they're thinking about purchasing. They're interested. And and I like to keep, if I'm doing it online, I like to keep a slide up with, the offer, the link to sign up, putting that in the chat. And so that's the talk. structure. And I just want to add, as we're talking about the closing sequence, that one piece that is super important is that you have a follow-up sequence that goes out after the talk.
Mm,
Whether you're inviting people into an initial consult or you're inviting people to purchase a program or join a group program or a product, that you have a sequence of emails that go out following the talk, with the replay, with the free gift you've offered them, and with a reminder about the offering, and putting in success stories and client testimonials, and encouraging, giving that inspiration and encouragement. We're not going over like what a whole promo sequence would be, and it would be shorter if you're just promoting the initial consult. If you're promoting a program, you're probably going to have a whole promo email sequence with anywhere from 7 to 10 emails that you're sending out over a period of days.
mm.
And so just making sure that you've got those queued up, because I can't tell you how many coaches I've talked to who I say, how was the talk and how did it go? And well, I didn't get anyone to sign up. Okay, well, did you follow up with them after the talk? Radio silence.
And that's why they need me, because I set up sales funnels and automation.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. 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 And it's good to have that stuff ready to go before your talk, because, once you've done your talk, if you're like me, I'm kind of on the line between introvert and extrovert. So once I've given a talk, I'm like, whew, okay, I need to go out for a walk. I need to eat something. I need, yeah, but it's good to think about that in advance, getting that queued up. Yeah, but this is the talk sequence that really works so well, and it feels so good to you, and it feels so good to your audience. And when you do it this way, you will get clients from every talk you give. And you can craft one great talk that you give over and over and over again to different audiences. And it really is like this simple, not simple, but simple, low tech, free way to get clients and to build your business. It's sort of like not the sexy strategy that Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or different things that do take a lot more money and tech know-how and trial and error. And you can do all those things too on top of this if you want to.
I'm very excited to try this, and I will let you know how it goes.
I can't wait to hear.
October 30th, I'm giving a talk right here on LinkedIn. Well, not every. This is streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, but
Oh, wow.
the talk will only be on LinkedIn.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. I love it. I can't wait to hear how it goes. I'm sure it's going to go great.
Thank you. You give me more confidence now, so
Wonderful.
this is great. I am sure it will be very helpful for everybody in the audience too. So I appreciate you coming on.
Oh,
So, if
thank you for
people
having me.
work with you, what's the next step that they should take to come into your world?
Yeah, so I kind of have two paths. If you are in the health and wellness world, I invite you to go to my website, marketingforhealthcoaches.com, or you can grab my 30-day action plan, which is called 5 Clients in 30 Days. This is actually useful whether you're a health coach or you're some other type of coach, but you can get that at healthcoachatactionplan.com. I also have a Facebook group called the Health Coach Collective that you're welcome to join if you are in the health and wellness sphere. And in that path, I help health and wellness pros with getting clients consistently and marketing their businesses. And then if you're a coach of some other kind and you are wanting support with launching a program or a course,
Mm.
you can go to launchwithamy.com. And I've got a free launch guide there, and you can also schedule a consult with me there. And always you can reach out to me at amy@marketingforhealthcoaches.com.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you again. We will wrap up there.
Thank you so much for having me, Carolyn.